This visual podcast was brought to you by Payton Zoll, Carina Lynch, and Kimmy Burkett. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. And this podcast is going to be a little different. We're going to be covering a pretty serious topic.
Then today we will be talking about how fear can inspire policy change in an entire nation.
Okay, so like when something bad happens, like a terrifying event, and how that affects laws and stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I get it. So specifically, what policies are we going to be talking about?
Well, we're going to be talking about what changed in the U.S. after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. So, Kimmy, have you ever been on a plane?
Yes, I have, Payton. Why do you ask?
Well, what do you remember about your time in the airport?
I mean, I remember getting there at least 2 hours before my flight boarded. And if you have bags, go to baggage claim, wait at least half an hour, maybe an hour, depending on the time. And then go get in line for security when you have to take all your stuff out of your bags and go through the giant scanner and stuff. But that's about it.
So what specifically has happened at security checkpoints in an airport? Do you personally have any stories?
I do, actually. I've had some crazy stuff happen. So about 2 years ago, when I was going through security, I was with my family. I was only 15 years old at the time, and I'd just broken my hand. So I was in a cast. And weirdly enough, did you know that they have to do swab tests on every person with a cast or a boot?
What? What for?
That's exactly what I was wondering. And so I asked the lady, I was like, why are you swabbing the inside of my cast?
Right.
And she said that they have to swab everything for drugs coming in and out of states.
Oh my gosh.
It's actually insane. I mean, and that's just the beginning of it.
That does sound incredibly insane. But did you actually know that most of those security measures came after 9/11?
Wait, for real? I thought that those were always in place since like the beginning of airports.
Well, yeah, we'll get into that. But first, let's get into some background.
On September 11th, 2001, terrorists from an Islamic extremist group hijacked 4 commercial flights. 2 of the 4 planes were crashed into the north and south buildings of the World Trade Center in New York City, also known as the Twin Towers, causing both of the towers to collapse and many lives to be lost. The 3rd plane then crashed into the Pentagon, the headquarters of one of the most critical departments in the U.S., the Department of Defense in Arlington, Virginia. Passengers of the 4th hijacked plane managed to find out about the attacks. They were then able to take over the hijackers and bring the plane down early in a field in Pennsylvania, which happened to be only 20 minutes away from Washington, D.C. Nearly 3,000 people lost their lives that day, including passengers, workers in the buildings, and firefighters and police officers who tried to help. The United States responded by increasing security measures and launching the war on terror. Since then, many steps have been taken to improve safety and prevent such attacks in the future.
Wow, I always forget how sad and terrifying that event was.
Yeah, but that's probably just because it happened before we were born, so many people don't really understand the extreme changes that come from the attack simply because it was just that long ago.
I mean, that's right. I forget that anybody that remembers it has to be over 30 years old by now. That's probably why I always thought airports have always been the same.
And then here are some of the differences between the airports before and after 9/11.
Airports used to be very different from how they are now. Did you know that anyone could pass security without a plane ticket? This was technically only able to happen if you were dropping off or picking up friends and family. But really, there was no way to distinguish who is friend and family versus who shouldn't be there. You never needed to take off your shoes, belt, or anything like that either. All of the things that seem normal now didn't even exist 24 years ago. The annoying things like having to take all of your devices out of your bag for security and only being allowed to have a certain amount of liquid per container weren't a thing you had to worry about before the 9/11 attacks. Nobody was ever stopped unless they set off the metal detector, which is not the case today. Today in airports, you need a ticket to even pass security checks unless you're sending a minor alone. As for luggage and bags, all sharp items are banned, large items must be taken out, no containers of liquids more than 3 ounces are allowed, and there is an X-ray screening process that your luggage must go through. All airports have full-body scanners which require belts and shoes to come off, as well as anything else that could set it off. In addition to the full-body scanners, photo identification scanners were put in that scan passports or driver's license to ensure that you match the name on your ticket and you match the photo on your ID. Now you can go through TSA pre-check, which allows faster movement throughout all security, but requires face recognition, fingerprints, and a federal background check. Most of these changes came throughout the development of the Aviation and Transportation Security Act, which created the TSA, which stands for the Transportation Security Administration.
Wow, I had no clue that so much had changed.
Yeah, most people don't.
That's literally crazy. I can't imagine going through security without all the stress of taking off shoes and bringing your laptops out of your bags. Even with TSA PreCheck, there's still so many rules to flying.
And it's all to keep everybody safe. And that's how powerful fear is. It can inspire almost instant change in a country. Thank you all for listening. We've hoped you learned something, and maybe next time you go to an airport, look for all the different measures that are put there to keep us safe.
Safe travels!